Clemson's 2026 season has no cushion.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson grad, Clemson fan, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network, and that is because of you. Everydayers who stick with us Monday through Friday, all throughout the week. We really appreciate your love and support. And if you're not yet an everydayer, what are you waiting for? Get in there, hit that follow, hit that subscribe so you never miss another episode. We've got an epic episode today. This is the Thursday edition of Locked On Clemson. Segment 3, we're going to talk about that football team and when they will get better. And segment 2, we'll talk about the group that needs to be the adult in the room. And then segment 1, we'll start everything up right now, talking about that issue, and that is that 2026 is building up towards Clemson having no cushion. And let's start here, because I think this is the cleanest way to talk about Clemson football going into next season. The season has no cushion. And what do I mean by that? Is that they don't have something that they've been able to have in the past to make the season easier. What didn't they do during this offseason? So far, based on what we're seeing, they didn't grab a quarterback who's already played 30 games, who is a legit starter who could come in and at least compete with who they already have. No, they've got a group of quarterbacks with little to no experience. That makes things less easy. They didn't grab an offensive lineman who's been through the SEC, been through the Big Ten, or been through a group of 5 and been a starter, been experienced in hostile environments. No, they didn't. They're going to have the same offensive line group minus a few guys from last year. Not much change there. That's not going to make the season easier on them. They didn't have a bunch of megastar names. And the one megastar name they had, he walked away to go to Ole Miss over tampering and more money, based on the reports that we have. So, is Clemson a good football team or not? Well, we won't know until the games are played. But does Clemson have even enough room for error when things don't go right? Because just like the basketball game on Tuesday night, margin of error sometimes can be very thin, especially in a long season, especially when you play a team that competitively is a little bit better than you, or matchup wise is has a little bit more of an advantage than you. So the off season was a season of need for reset, embracing of the portal, and we can walk away from at least the portal, the initial 2 weeks of the portal. And you look now and almost everybody's picked up. It was not a scenario where, they overwhelmingly got better. They replaced guys. They definitely replaced guys with other guys. But none of them kind of jump out as like, wow, this is going to be a difference maker. This guy's going to really improve the team. They're not a Will Helt in this group of portal guys. There's definitely not a quarterback, and there's no offensive lineman. And the one guy that had the most accolades is not in class, walked away. So is Clemson good in 2026 or not? We won't know, but signs are pointing to they did the bare minimum to continue their team. And they're again banking on returning players to develop. That is another big gamble and a big risk, and one that has not paid off in ways that I think Dabo Swinney would like to admit. Because college football is all about that margin of error. And when things go wrong, can you still find a way to win? In 2025, when things went wrong, they couldn't find ways to win. When you miss your blocks, the whole play blew up. When your quarterback couldn't read the defense, the whole play blew up. The defensive line couldn't get in the backfield. You couldn't get off the field. Linebackers couldn't tackle. Safeties, no speed. Assignments blown everywhere. Still managed, and all those frustrations, to win 7 games. Slow starts, can't overcome them. A lot of it is, do you have the players out there on the field that can give you a little bit of a better margin for error? Buy you a little bit more time out there. Did Clemson add to that? Well, Dabo's probably going to come out and joke that, well, the biggest portal pickup he got was paying for Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore to stay. And that's going to be true. It's not going to be untrue that keeping the guys you have is the best recruiting you could do. That's not untrue. And they still have a lot of talented players. I don't want to take away from the talent they have, but they've lost a lot of talent to the NFL. They lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal. And they lost a lot of guys to decommitments in the recruiting class. So the recruiting class is not high up there. The portal class is nowhere near up there either. So the conversation now turns to more of a how much did we really improve, if any, from 2025? Can you say you improved at quarterback? A lot of debate still out there. The guy who's going to be leading the team into Baton Rouge didn't beat out Cade Klubnik in multiple years of trying. And the guys behind him are so new that you don't expect them to beat him out. So there's a lot of unknowns there at the quarterback position. You look at the offensive line. We thought that this offensive line under Matt Luke would be developed into one that would be sustainable through a whole season and be well respected. And from day one, it was not. It was in shambles. It was, in a lot of ways, worse. Walker Parks stuck around for all those years and never really got any better. Blake Miller played every single game possible, was an Iron Man, and never really got better. Tristan Lee, left tackle, incumbent 5-star guy, and never really mentioned nationally in any kind of conversation. Ryan Linthicum, best center in the recruiting class, never really got better, struggled to even become a center and become a starter himself. The offensive line was not great. Colin Sadler got injured, but even when he was out there, it didn't look like he fit the offense that they were trying to run. Harris Sewell got put in there, and he didn't look like he fit. And so you're going to be keeping a lot of these core guys. They'll be adding in younger guys instead of more tenured guys or even anybody with experience. So to fix this offensive line, your choice was to stick with development. To fix the quarterback situation, your choice was to stick with development. Those are two extremely important positions, more important than linebacker, and losing Farrelly. Extremely high wins above replacement positions, impactful positions, if you will. And you chose to stick with your guys. Didn't add an experienced quarterback. Didn't add anybody in the offensive line, or at least haven't added anybody in the offensive line. And some of you are going to say, well, Morgan, there's still time. Is there? Is there, though? Relying on these guys, relying on development. Matt Luke better step up and do it. He better develop them, because I'm losing patience, and I know you are as well. And if you're not going to go out and get fresh faces that have experience, then you better be developing. And the same goes for Christopher Vezina. This is his time. This is his contract year, as it was for Cade Klubnik, and he faltered. So Chad Morris, we believe in you. We do actually have some faith in you. Go out there and get it done. These guys are making a lot of money to do this and play, making a lot of money to play. Clemson has to improve from 2025. They can't stay the same. They've got to get rid of these sloppy first halves. They got to get rid of this blown protection. They've got to get rid of not playing in assignments, leaning in on hope and spaghetti on the wall. They did not buy any insurance. They just replaced what they lost. They did not buy any insurance. They bought in on development still. That's what makes fans uneasy for 2026. Because we know college football is unforgiving. And other teams, as we've seen with Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin, they're out for blood. And you can argue all you want about rules this and rules that, but until actually somebody gets sued and rules are enforced, it's not going to get any better. So if what happened actually is what happened, Clemson University better be suing Ole Miss immediately over all of this. If what happened with the tampering is what happened. I mean, you can't walk away from all of this, lose your top pick in your portal pickup class, not have a great recruiting class, bank on development and key position groups, and then not sue anybody. I'm ready to sue somebody. I'm not going to put the money up to sue anybody, but I'm ready for somebody to sue somebody. All right, hey, segment 2 of Locked On Clemson. We're going to talk about who needs to be the adult in the room for 2026 Clemson football. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert to start to finish without all the stress and without all the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out all those forms, you can meet with a local tax expert in person and connect with them online. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local tax expert for just $150 all in. If a tax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get your life back. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On Clemson and Locked On Sports the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, check out the Everydayer Club. We got a lot of friends in there, a lot of people hanging out. And you can check out the exclusive Discord server where we chat all day, every day about everything and anything college related. And you get ad-free audio to this show. So go check it out, lockedonclemson.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, hey, segment 2 of Locked On Clemson. Who needs to be the adult in the room? Who? Now let's talk about where Clemson's putting the most pressure on it by the decisions they've made. And you're not going to feel comfortable about it, but I'm going to explain it to you. It's obvious Clemson went all in on defense. They replenished everything that they needed to replenish. Maybe not everything, but they replenished full speed ahead, 100% effort into defense and getting guys out of the portal that they could afford and that they felt like would improve their room or at least replenish their room. So that's it. It's on Tom Allen. You know, Clemson felt as if their offense didn't need that much improving from a personnel standpoint, but the defense needed a lot of replenishing. The offense is, typically one that you hope would bail you out, but now I think they're leaning on defense again. They're leaning on Tom Allen. They're leaning on a refreshed group of guys that he feels like might fit his scheme a little bit better. They didn't lean on a superstar quarterback in the portal. They didn't lean on revamping their offensive line, but they revamped the defensive line and the secondary. And those were the two areas that were of most risk from 2025. Allowing explosive plays, allowing teams to stay on the field, keeping those drives alive was a problem for Clemson's defense. reset on offense was really more done through coaching and Chad Morris, not through personnel. So, it's still very much an experiment on both sides. But one of them has to step up. Will it be the offense? Will it be the defense? Chad Morris hadn't called a play in called plays in 5 years? And when he did, he really wasn't that great at Auburn, right? Bo Nix had a better chance without him. And without getting injured in the NFL, arguably could have gone to the Super Bowl with the Broncos. Can the defense keep it close in 2026? Can they step up when you need them to the most? Can they shorten the game? Can they flip the field? Can they keep the game away from being a track meet? Or is it just wishful thinking? And the offense has to kind of light that fire. Maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe it's all putting the adult in the room of being the offense, because that's the group that needed the less revamping from a personnel standpoint. The offensive line, all guys that are returning. The wide receivers, all guys that are returning with brand new guys that are super fast. Tight end, all guys that returning. Quarterback, running back, all guys returning. And they're adding in to Chris Johnson Jr. in the running back room. So who has to be the adult in the room? I mean, odds are it's going to have to be the offense that carries things, because the defense just has so many personnel unknowns. They had so many players leave, so many gaps to fill, and had the biggest drama on that side of the ball and lack of success getting to the backfield. But the amount of reloading that needed to happen on defense puts even more question marks on how well they'll be able to work together. The jury's still out in my mind on Tom Allen, whether or not he's a good coach or not. You can tell me he is all you want, but I want to see it on my team and not on everybody else's team. You can give me all these examples of Indiana or Penn State, but I want to see it at Clemson. And I really don't feel like I saw it at Clemson in 2025. So I want to see it at Clemson in 2026. But the group of guys he has, is it going to be enough? If anything, Indiana showed you don't need a bunch of flashy players to win a national championship game. You got to stay healthy. You got to be committed to your game plan, and you got to fit what you're trying to call. Again, I look back at Tom Allen's defense 2025. I felt like the team he had didn't fit what he wanted to call. Maybe these guys he brought in fit what he wants to call. Hopefully they do. They better get it right quickly. On the offensive side of the ball, Chad Morris, I'm not as worried about him needing his guys, but he's going to have to change the mindset, because he is different from what we saw with Garrett Riley, and maybe in a good way. Maybe he fits what the offensive line has. Maybe he fits what the quarterback brings to the table. Maybe he fits what players are out there on that team. I don't want to get through the whole 2026 season and say, well, Chad Morris just needs his guys, because that would be a failure. That's basically what we did with Tom Allen. We got through more than half the season and we said, well, he just needs his guys. So you can't afford to do that. Defense is under a rebuild. Offense is under recoaching. I think the adult in the room has to be the offense that has to start stepping up and have to start scoring a crap ton of points. I mean, it really does, because your defense has so many questions. I don't think Clemson is asking the defense to be the adult. Who do you think? You can let me know in the comments. But if the offense continues to sputter along, can this defense, with a bunch of brand new players playing together for the first time, put it together? Or will the pressure compound and just make the margins even, or the gap even greater to overcome for the offense? We'll have to see. Segment 3, we're going to, if you stick with me, we're going to talk about when this team, if this team can be better in 2026. All right, here is segment number 3. Thank you again for making Locked On Clemson part of your everyday. And also, I just appreciate everybody. You know, we're getting close to the end of January. You know, just the fact that you stick with me and talk Clemson football, it gets me through a lot of my weeks. It really does. It means a lot. Sometimes I go out flying all day and I have a long day and I'm like, man, let me check out what my comments are saying. Let me check out what my everydayers are saying. And I really appreciate it. And when you give me messages over on X at the Morgan T Show, it means a lot too. You know, I really appreciate the community that we have here at Locked On Clemson. And really a lot of the Locked On shows as well have great communities. And so that's why I wanted to be a part of it. You know, and I'm looking forward to a good 2026 with you guys. All right. So segment 3, the last piece that I wanted to talk about was, when will Clemson be better in 2026? Because the way it shapes out to me, the way I'll feel as if it will shape out, if you will, is I'm thinking that Clemson's not going to be that great at the beginning of the season. You know, they've got a new coach, offensive coordinator on the offense. They've got to figure out what works best in real live games quickly. On defense, you know, as I mentioned in segment 2, it's just so many unknowns. They're going to have to figure out what works in live games as well, and it's going to probably take more time than the offense. To me, the offense may be near ready to go week 1 under Chad Morris. I could see that happening. As the season goes on, I could see the same thing happening for 2025. The offensive line gets better as the season goes on because they actually see who rises to the occasion in the game. My worry and my concern is that the coaching staff doesn't do a good job in the fall getting them ready. You know, this team got better late in the season, but the season was already over statistically, record-wise, by the time they started stacking wins. Christopher Vezina should be able to settle in a couple of games in. Offensive line should be able to settle in a couple of games in, find out maybe the better rotation than what you thought during fall practice. Teams often do look cleaner in October than they do in September. That's normal, and that's my expectation, is that it could be possible that Clemson will stub their toe early and start to kind of settle in. And defense is going to be a laggard. I'm already feeling it. It's going to kind of slow build towards a better defense maybe in late October, November. But the worry is that you don't have time to work the kinks out. You got LSU to start. And it's not college football is turning into not a scenario of we need to figure out what we have. It's more of, we need to work the kinks out. It's like, hey, we need to win now. We don't have the ability to just lose a bunch of games. Even in the ACC, a lot of people say, well, the ACC, you can lose games and still make it. No, you really can't. If you look at who has made it to the ACC championship game, yeah, they may have had more than one loss, but a lot of them didn't have very many losses in the ACC. So you can't stack ACC losses, that's for sure. Mistakes are punished, and they will be punished immediately at the start of the season. That's where the concern, I think, is most. If you start slow again, whether it be slow at the start of the game or slow at the start of the season, the pressure will ramp up quick. Once the pressure ramps up, then everybody else gets stressed around. And then development slows down. If development slows down, then everything feels like it's unable to be overcome. I'm not saying that Clemson has to take this team and make it a perfect team. But if they start out shaky, I have a lot of people in the comments saying when they look forward to 2026, they're seeing 7 wins again. Early losses can change the feel of a season quick, as we know from 2025. Suddenly, every game is a must win. Every mistake is magnified, and confidence is no longer there. It is just tension. And young men can't always handle it. Can Clemson get through the beginning of the season in 2026 with what they've rebuilt themselves into and grow into something better than 2025? We already thought 2026 was going to be a down year. We said that. Prepare for 2025 to be the last hurrah of this group. And it was an absolute nightmare. Worst case scenario for the best possible roster to win almost all games. And now you're in a rebuild season trying to say you're not only going to rebuild, but you're going to do better than that team that faltered. You're not going to be able to do this with shortcuts. And they didn't go out and buy experience. So what they did, what they may have ended up with is a small margin of error. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. Make sure you follow and subscribe so you get all the latest episodes. Check me out over on X at The Morgan T Show. If you never miss an episode, well, hey, check out the Everydayer Club. We got that exclusive group where we talk to each other all the time on Discord, and you get ad-free episodes of this show. For those of you over on video, we'll send you over to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On College Football. And if you're interested in the Everydayer Club, go check out the link in the show notes or lockedonclemson.supercast.com. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.